Iowa caucuses. Well, first of all, we got the straw poll that is coming out in August, and I'm going to be there. I think you're going to be there too, Beckel. But Pawlenty, Bachmann, Neighbors, Bachmann now up in 2 major polls. She's leading in Iowa, second in New Hampshire. And here's Tim Pawlenty on Meet the Press.
Well, I like Congresswoman Bachmann. I've campaigned for her. I respect her. But her record of accomplishment in Congress is non-existent. It's non-existent. And so we're not looking for folks who, just have a speech capabilities. We're looking for people who can lead a large enterprise in a public setting and drive it to conclusion. I've done that. She hasn't.
All right, last time I interviewed him, he was taking on Romney. Now he seems to be coming out of the gate fighting harder first. Good strategy, bad strategy?
I think it's good because I personally like a fighter. I think he has to go against Bachmann. She's a very gifted speaker. She's a strong fundraiser. They absolutely love her in Iowa. And I think if he wants to have any chances of the presidential bid, he's got to attack her now. But in all fairness to Mr. Pawlenty, Ms. Bachmann doesn't have the executive experience that comes from being a 2-term governor. If you look at her legislative record, she hasn't passed any of the bills that she sponsored have not become law, and only 2 have passed the Congress. And she's never ran for statewide
fairness, very few congressmen and senators do actually pass legislation.
Right. Plus, most of her time was under Democratic leadership.
Yeah,
we're going to let her do anything anyway. But look, Pawlenty has to come up with something because he's trailing in the polls. If he doesn't do well in Iowa and he's running behind in New Hampshire, as Bob says, and I think correctly, he's finished.
Does ethanol subsidies play in this Iowa issue with Pawlenty and Bachmann?
Oh, yeah, I think it does. Don't you?
Oh, yeah, sure it does. One of the things, having run a Minnesotan in Iowa, if you're from Minnesota, you have to do well in Iowa. You've got to win. It's very unusual to have 2 Minnesotans, and Pawlenty's game begins and ends in Iowa. Now, if he comes in less than second in that straw poll in Ames, I think his money dries up, and I don't think he can continue a race into New Hampshire. Remember, you're talking about going from small Iowa markets to a Boston market to do TV. And so I think Pawlenty's game here is one that he now has got to attack and try to drive her numbers down. And it's a tough thing to do. It's tough to attack a woman. And she's particularly articulate in a lot of this stuff. And Pawlenty is not exactly what you'd call a tiger.
Now that you've calmed down, who do you most fear as a big lib to run against the anointed one with his failed policies? Who do you fear the most?
Run against the anointed one with his failed policies. Let me see. Was that a setup? Yeah, I would say any of the 3 governor candidates. I would really worry about Huntsman in the general election. Romney, I think, is overrated, and Pawlenty, if he could get through, but I don't think he can, could be a good candidate. Frankly, I would love to have Bachmann win.
All right, but let me ask Cal this
question. The Republican nomination, because we just absolutely roll over.
I think you're nuts because
you think I'm nuts. Yeah, wait a minute. You better calm down. If you think that Bachmann is going to be a president of the United States, you have got to get yourself. I think it can happen. And more than anything else, unlike hope, change, teleprompter reading, and platitudes and bumper stickers, this election is going to be about Obama's failed record.
I agree. I don't think there's any question about that.
So Bachmann could win by a significant margin, as could, I think, any of the candidates.
Don't underestimate a latecomer. I think Rick Perry is a potentially strong candidate. He's thinking about it seriously. He's got a tremendous record on employment. A lot of people are moving to Texas. No taxes down there. No income tax.
No, they created almost 1 million jobs while the country was
let's seriously, from an analyst standpoint, let's remember people who enter into races tend to not do very well. Fred Thompson was an example of that. You go back and look at these races. Getting in at this stage of the game, it may seem like a long time, but it's a very short time between now and now.
Between now and January, this is a short time, and you also need infrastructure in these states.
Exactly.
And you need some of the best consultants, and you need a ground game. What do you think?
I think that President Obama is really vulnerable because of the economy, because of the jobs. It all comes down to that.
Look at Bob as you tell him this.
President Obama is really vulnerable, Bob.
Let me just get the tape recorder so I can just replay it in my mind all night long. Now let's start talking about Reverend Wright.
It hurts.
Hey, that's a good idea.
By the way, did you hear what he said last week?
I don't know, Sean, but I'm sure we're going to hear.
No, I'm not going to play it now.
Oh, okay, good.
I don't want your head to explode on national television. It would be very entertaining.
I got so tired of hearing about Reverend Wright, I could have barfed. I mean, it was just, I could have given your lines about Reverend Wright. And also, who was the other one?
I don't know. Who was the other one? You're a genius. All right, you wanted to finish your comments.
Yeah, what I was saying is I think President Obama really has a lot of weaknesses. What people care about is jobs. What people care about is the price of gas. We passed a stimulus. It didn't work. Look where we are now, and I think that he's
bankrupted the country.
Why do you think he bankrupted this country?
If he's going to knock people who fly on private planes, get him off Air Force One, which we're paying for.
And by the way, John Boehner He doesn't have a private plane.
That's right.
He gave back Pelosi's
Exactly
private jet
right.
that we were paying for to go to
Exactly.
San Francisco.
Which she
That's all the time
got
we
from
have left,
Denny
Bob. Thank
Hastrick,
you.
if I remember right.
Greta's
Throw your
next,
football.
and she's going on the record. See you
Go,
tomorrow night.